I've known my wife was cheating on me for 4 months. That's not where this story starts, though. It starts in a hospital room at Brooke Army Medical Center in San Antonio, watching a team of doctors work on my 18-month-old son while my wife stood beside me, her hand cold in mine. Ethan couldn't breathe. His little chest was heaving, his lips turning blue, and all I could do was stand there in my uniform. I'd come straight from base and watch the monitors beep faster and faster. The ER doctor was barking orders about intubation and emergency surgery, and Jennifer was crying into my shoulder, and I was doing what I always do, staying calm, staying focused, being the rock everyone needed me to be. "We need to know about family medical history," a nurse said, clipboard in hand. "Any respiratory issues, allergies, blood type?" "I'm O positive," I said. "Jennifer's A positive." The nurse looked at her chart, then looked again. "Your son is B negative." I didn't understand at first. I was too busy watching Ethan's oxygen levels. "Is that a problem?" "No, it's just..." She glanced at Jennifer, then back at me. "That's unusual. Two parents with O and A blood typically can't produce a B negative child." The words hung in the air. I felt Jennifer's hand tighten around mine. When I looked at her, she'd gone pale. Not the pale of fear for our son, but something else. Something that made my stomach drop. "Genetics can be weird," Jennifer said quickly, too quickly. "My grandmother was..." "Let's focus on Ethan," I cut in, because that's what mattered right then. My son. Our son. The baby boy I'd held for the first time 18 months ago when I came home from deployment. The one who just started calling me Dada. The one who reached for me every night at bedtime. They took him into surgery. Jennifer and I sat in the waiting room in silence. And that's when the seed planted itself in my mind. That tiny poisonous seed that I tried desperately to ignore but couldn't. To understand how we got here, you have to go back 2 years. I met Jennifer 6 months before my third deployment. Army's appreciation event in downtown San Antonio, one of those community things where civilians get to meet soldiers, shake hands, say thank you for your service. She was volunteering, handing out water bottles, and she had this smile that made me forget I had a combat tour looming. We dated for a year. She was an ER nurse, smart, caring, said she understood the military lifestyle because her dad had been Air Force. When I proposed, I thought I'd gotten it right this time. My first marriage fell apart during my second tour, but Jennifer was different. She got it. She was ready for the sacrifice. We got married 3 months before I deployed to Afghanistan. Robert, my older brother, was my best man. He gave this speech at the wedding about how he'd always looked out for me, how he'd continue looking out for Jennifer while I was gone. Everyone cried. I felt like the luckiest man alive. I deployed in August. 9 months in Kandahar province, leading an infantry company through some of the worst fighting we'd seen in years. I lost 2 men in November, another in February. Every day was a grind of patrols, intelligence reports, trying to keep my soldiers alive while the Taliban tested us at every turn. But I had something to come home to. Jennifer sent care packages every month, letters, photos. And then in December, 6 months into my tour, she told me she was pregnant. I remember reading that email in my hooch, surrounded by maps and ammo and the smell of dust and sweat, and just crying. Happy tears. Grateful tears. I was going to be a father. After everything, the divorce, the combat, the friends I'd lost, something good was finally happening. I got R&R leave in February. 2 weeks back home. Jennifer was 5 months along by then, showing just a little. We spent every moment together. I felt the baby kick. We picked out names. We made love like we were trying to memorize each other. "I missed you so much," she whispered one night, her head on my chest. "Robert's been checking on me, but it's not the same." "I'm glad he's there," I said. I meant it. Robert had always been my role model. 3 years older, successful real estate agent, beautiful wife Karen, 2 daughters. the golden child who actually earned it. Knowing he was watching over Jennifer made the deployment bearable. I flew back to Afghanistan. 3 months later, in June, Jennifer went into labor. I wasn't there. I couldn't be. But my mom sent me photos. A wrinkled, red-faced baby boy with a shock of dark hair. Ethan Michael Harrison, 7 pounds, 4 ounces. I came home in May, 1 month before Ethan's first birthday. The homecoming is burned into my memory. San Antonio International Airport, families crying and waving flags, and there she was, Jennifer holding a blue balloon that said, "Welcome home, Daddy," and a tiny baby, my son, in her arms. I held him for the first time in that airport. He was 11 months old. He looked at me with these serious dark eyes, and then he smiled, and I was gone, completely, utterly in love. The next 18 months were the best of my life. I got promoted to major, took a desk job at Fort Sam, Houston. No more deployments for a while. Ethan learned to walk, to talk. His first word was Dada. Every morning he'd wake up and toddle into our bedroom and climb onto the bed between us, and I'd think, this is what I was fighting for. Robert came over all the time. Sunday dinners at Mom and Dad's, backyard barbecues, Ethan's first birthday party. Robert brought an expensive electric truck that Ethan was too young for, but Robert insisted. "That's what uncles do," he said, clapping me on the shoulder. I trusted him. I trusted Jennifer. I trusted that my life had finally fallen into place. And then Ethan stopped breathing, and a nurse looked at a blood type chart, and my entire world started to crack. They saved him. Emergency surgery to clear his airway. 3 days in pediatric ICU, but he pulled through. Kids are resilient like that. I sat by his bed every night, holding his tiny hand, watching his chest rise and fall with the ventilator. Jennifer stayed during the day, left at night, said the hospital made her anxious, brought back bad memories from her nursing days. I didn't question it, but I couldn't stop thinking about what the nurse had said. Be negative. I pulled out my phone one night after Jennifer left and started Googling blood type inheritance, genetic possibilities. The science was clear. 2 parents with O and A blood could produce A or O children. B negative wasn't just unlikely, it was impossible. Unless I wasn't the father, I tried to rationalize it. Lab errors happen. Maybe the nurse read the chart wrong. Maybe there was contamination, anything but the obvious conclusion. But then I did the math, really did it, with dates and calendars and deployment orders. Ethan was born June 15th, full term according to his birth records. That meant conception around mid-September the previous year. I deployed August 12th. My R&R wasn't until February 14th. I did the math 3 times, 4 times, 10 times. Every time the answer was the same. I wasn't home when Ethan was conceived. The hospital discharged Ethan on a Thursday. We brought him home, set him up in his nursery with the mobile I'd built myself, the one with the little airplanes. Jennifer made dinner. We ate in silence. "We need to talk," I finally said. She looked up from her plate. "About what?" "About Ethan's blood type." Her fork stopped halfway to her mouth. "Michael, not this again. Jennifer." I kept my voice level, calm, the voice I used with soldiers when I needed them to focus. "I've done the math. I was deployed when Ethan was conceived. Babies come early sometimes. He was full term, 7 pounds, 4 ounces. The hospital records say full term, Jennifer." She set down her fork. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying we need to do a paternity test." The words hung between us like a grenade with the pin pulled. Jennifer's face went through a progression I'll never forget. Shock, then fear, then anger, then something calculated. "How dare you?" she said quietly. "How dare you accuse me of, after everything I went through, raising a baby alone for 9 months while you were overseas, sacrificing my career, then prove me wrong." I pulled out a DNA test kit I'd bought on the way home. 3 days, that's all it takes. If I'm wrong, I'll spend the rest of my life making this up to you, but I need to know. She stared at the kit like it was a snake. This will destroy our marriage. The doubt is already destroying it. This will give us answers. She tried everything: tears, anger, accusations that I didn't trust her, that deployment had broken me, that I needed therapy, but I held firm. And finally, she agreed. We swabbed Ethan's cheek. We swabbed mine. We sent it to a private lab, 72-hour turnaround. Those 3 days were worse than any combat I'd faced. In war, you can fight back. You can take cover, return fire, call in air support. But this? I was powerless. All I could do was wait and watch Jennifer grow more distant every day and hold Ethan tighter, knowing that no matter what that test said, nothing would ever be the same. I got the results via email on a Sunday afternoon. Jennifer had taken Ethan to her mother's. I was alone in the house. I sat in my car in the driveway, couldn't bring myself to go inside. I opened the email on my phone. The PDF loaded slowly, too slowly, and then I was staring at the words. Probability of paternity, 0.0%, not 1%, not unlikely, 0, impossible. I read it 3 times, then I just sat there in my car, in my driveway, staring at the dashboard. I could hear neighborhood kids playing basketball, someone's lawnmower, normal suburban sounds. But inside my car, inside my chest, everything was silent and cold. I looked up. 2 blocks away, I could see Robert's house. His BMW was in the driveway, his perfect house with the perfect landscaping and the perfect family. And I thought about every time he'd come to check on Jennifer during my deployment. Every Sunday dinner where he'd hold Ethan and say, "He's got your eyes, Mike." Every text, "Don't worry, bro, I've got your family covered." He did. He covered my family, in my bed, in my home, while I was in a war zone. I survived 3 tours in combat zones. I'd survive this too. But first, I needed the truth. Jennifer came home that evening. I'd spent the afternoon in a strange kind of calm. The shock had burned off, leaving behind something cold and clear. I'd spent 13 years in the Army learning to assess threats, gather intelligence, and execute missions. This was just another operation. "We need to talk," I said when she walked in. I was sitting at the kitchen table, the same table where we'd had family dinners, where I'd fed Ethan his first solid food. I put the DNA results between us. She looked at the paper, then at me. "Michael, no more lies." My voice was steady, military steady. "The DNA doesn't lie, Jennifer. Ethan is not my son. So you're going to tell me exactly what happened, when it started, and who the father is. And if you lie to me even once, I walk out right now and you deal with my lawyer." She crumpled. Not immediately. She tried to deny it first, tried to say the test was wrong, that labs make mistakes. But I just stared at her, and eventually she broke. "It was a mistake," she whispered. "It only happened once." "When?" It was during your deployment. I was lonely and..." "Who?" She went pale, shook her head. "Jennifer, who is Ethan's father?" Silence. "Was it Robert?" Her face told me everything. She didn't need to say the words. The way her eyes widened, the way her breath caught. I had my answer. Something inside me went very, very quiet. "I need you to leave," I said. "Go to your mother's. Pack a bag. Take Ethan. I need to think." "Michael, please. We can fix this." "Jennifer." I looked at her. Really looked at her. Tried to find the woman I'd married. The one I'd trusted with everything. She wasn't there. Maybe she'd never been there. "You let me hold a child that wasn't mine. You watched me fall in love with him. You let me be his father for 18 months knowing I wasn't. That's not a mistake. That's not an accident. That's cruelty. So right now, I need you to leave before I say something I'll regret." She tried to hug me. I stepped back. She left. I sat at that table for 3 hours, staring at the DNA results. Then I did what I'd been trained to do. I made a plan. Robert lived 2 blocks away. Same neighborhood, different cul-de-sac. When I pulled up to his house at 9 p.m., his BMW was in the driveway and the lights were on. Sunday night. His daughters would be in bed. Karen would be cleaning up dinner. I knocked. Karen answered, smiling. Michael, what a nice surprise. Come in, come in. I need to talk to Robert. Alone. Her smile faltered. She read my face and called for him. We went to his garage. He closed the door behind us and I saw it in his eyes. He knew. Jennifer must have called him. Mike, he started. Let me explain. When did it start? He ran his hand through his hair. Perfect hair. Perfect everything. Does it matter? Yes. Last December, a few months after you deployed. December, month 4 of my 9-month tour. Right around when Jennifer told me she was pregnant. So you waited, I said. My voice was still calm. Too calm. You made sure I was gone. You couldn't take anything from me when I could fight back. It wasn't like that. What was it like, Robert? Explain it to me. Explain how you fucked my wife in my house while I was getting shot at in Afghanistan. He flinched. Robert never liked crude language. She came on to me. She was lonely and I was weak and it just happened. It just happened for 9 months. 9 months, Robert. It was a few times. Stop lying. My composure cracked. Just for a second. I found the messages, Robert. I know it was more than a few times. I know you knew she was pregnant. I know you planned to let me raise your son. His face went white. What messages? All of them. Every text, every email. Jennifer kept them on her old laptop. I'm an intelligence officer, Robert. Did you really think I wouldn't look? We stared at each other. Brothers. We'd grown up in the same house, shared the same parents, played catch in the same backyard. I'd looked up to him my entire life, and he'd waited until I was in a war zone to betray me. You came to Ethan's first birthday party, I said quietly. You held him. You looked me in the eye and said, He's got your eyes, Mike. You knew. You knew he was yours, and you said nothing. I didn't know how to tell you. You were never going to tell me. You were going to let me raise your son and pay for him for 18 years while you played uncle. Admit it. Robert's jaw tightened. What do you want me to say? That I'm sorry? Fine. I'm sorry. I'm sorry it happened. I'm sorry you got hurt. You're sorry you got caught. What do you want from me, Mike? You want me to grovel? You want to hit me? Go ahead. I deserve it. I did want to hit him. God, I wanted to, but I didn't. Because that's what he expected. That's what would make this about 2 brothers fighting over a woman. And this wasn't about a woman. This was about betrayal so deep it didn't have a bottom. I want you to understand what you did, I said. You didn't just sleep with my wife. You let me come home from war, hold a baby I thought was mine, fall in love with him. You came to Sunday dinners. You gave him expensive presents. You watched me be his father, and you never once thought, maybe I should tell him the truth. That's who you are, Robert. That's who you've always been. You see something I have, and you take it. And you don't care who you destroy in the process. I walked out, left him standing in his garage. I didn't look back. The next morning, I called Diana Martinez. She was a family law attorney Marcus had recommended, former military spouse herself, divorced after her husband's deployment. She'd seen this story before. Her office was downtown, decorated with photographs of the Alamo and framed certificates from veteran organizations. She shook my hand with a firm grip and said, "Tell me everything." I did. The blood type, the DNA test, the deployment timeline, the messages I'd found, Robert's admission. She listened, took notes, and when I finished, she leaned back in her chair and sighed. "You're in a bad position, Michael." "What do you mean? I have proof." "Texas law says you're the presumed father, Because you signed the birth certificate. The fact that you've acted as Ethan's father for 18 months makes it worse. But the DNA test means very little in Texas family court. The law prioritizes the child's stability. You've bonded with Ethan. You're his father in every way except biology. Courts don't like to disrupt that. I felt cold. So I'm trapped? I have to pay child support for someone else's kid for 18 years? Unless we can prove fraud, duress, or mistake at the time you signed. She leaned forward. Did Jennifer explicitly tell you the child was yours? I thought back. The hospital. Jennifer holding Ethan. Me signing the birth certificate with my hand shaking from joy. She told me during R&R that she was pregnant. Said, we made this baby. Said she couldn't wait for me to meet our son. Diana nodded grimly. That's fraud, but proving it in court is hard. We need evidence she knew it wasn't yours when you signed. Text messages between her and Robert. Admissions. Something concrete. I have texts. She told Robert in November that she was pregnant with his baby. Told him in December she'd lie to me about it. Diana's eyebrows rose. You have those? That changes things. With that evidence, we might have a shot at challenging paternity. But Michael... She paused. Even if we win, you understand what that means? You'll lose Ethan. No custody, no visitation. He'll legally be Robert's son. I know. And Jennifer will fight this. She'll argue that disrupting Ethan's relationship with you is harmful to him. She'll paint you as vindictive. The court might agree. What are my options? She laid them out. File for paternity challenge, file for divorce, fight custody, and support. It would cost $20,000 minimum. Take 6 months to a year. There were no guarantees. Or, she said quietly, you accept the status quo. Stay married, stay as Ethan's legal father, try to move past this. I looked at her. What would you do? I'd burn it all down, she said without hesitation. But that's me. That's why I'm divorced. I hired her on the spot. That night, I went back to Jennifer's old laptop. If I was going to fight this, I needed everything. I found it in her deleted messages folder. Conversation after conversation between Jennifer and Robert, starting in November, month 3 of my deployment. The beginning was flirtation, jokes. Then, November 28th. Jennifer, I missed my period. Robert, are you sure? Jennifer, 3 tests, all positive, I'm pregnant. Robert, fuck. Jennifer, it's yours, Robert, it has to be. Mike and I haven't since before he left. Robert, does he know? Jennifer, no, and he can't. He's coming home for R&R in February. I'll tell him it's his. Robert, he'll do the math. Jennifer, babies come early all the time. We'll say I miscalculated my cycle. He'll believe me. He trusts me. I read that line 3 times. He'll believe me. He trusts me. There was more. So much more. December 10th. Robert, we have to stop. Karen is getting suspicious. Jennifer, what about me? What about our baby? Robert, Mike will take care of you. He always does. Jennifer, you're just going to let him raise your son? Robert, our son will have a good life. Mike's a captain. Stable income, benefits. He's not deploying again for a while. It's better this way. Jennifer, and I just play happy family? Robert, yes, that's exactly what you do. And then after Ethan was born, June 16th. Jennifer sends photo of newborn Ethan. Jennifer, he has your eyes. Robert, he's beautiful. You did good. Jennifer, Mike is so happy. It's breaking my heart. Robert, don't go soft now. We made our choice. Stick to the plan. I sat there in the dark, reading messages that destroyed me with every word. They'd planned it. All of it. From the moment Jennifer found out she was pregnant, they'd planned to trap me. I took screenshots, hundreds of them, backed them up to 3 different locations, sent them to Diana's office. Then I found something else. Messages between Jennifer and Karen, Robert's wife. January 8th. Karen, how long do you think you can keep this up? Jennifer, as long as it takes. Robert said you understand. Karen, I don't understand. But I have 2 daughters and a lifestyle to protect. If this comes out, we all lose. Jennifer, then it won't come out. Mike will never suspect. He trusts Robert completely. Karen, for your sake, I hope you're right. Because if he finds out, I won't protect you. I'll protect my family. Karen knew. Robert's wife knew from the beginning and said nothing. I closed the laptop and sat in silence. The betrayal wasn't just Jennifer and Robert, it was systemic. Karen knew and stayed quiet to protect her lifestyle. They'd all gambled on my loyalty, my trust, my love for a child they knew wasn't mine. They'd gambled wrong. I met Karen 3 days later at a coffee shop in Alamo Heights, neutral territory. I texted her, "Coffee, just you and me, don't tell Robert." She came, curious probably, maybe nervous. I didn't waste time. "I know you know, Karen. I found the messages between you and Jennifer." She went pale, started to deny it. I slid my phone across the table, showed her the screenshot of her own words. She stared at it, then at me. "What do you want?" "A choice," I said. "You can stay loyal to Robert and go down with him when this goes public. Because it will go public, Karen. Or you can help me. Tell the truth. Protect yourself and your daughters." "You want me to testify against my husband?" "I want you to tell the truth. There's a difference." She shook her head. "I can't." "You can. Right now, you're an accomplice. You helped cover up fraud. But if you come forward, you're a witness." I leaned forward. "Think about your daughters, Karen. When this comes out, and it will, do you want them to learn that Mommy knew Uncle Robert was lying to Uncle Mike and helped hide it? Or that Mommy did the right thing in the end?" She looked at me for a long time. Then she said, "What do I have to do?" I gave Karen 48 hours. In that time, I told my parents, Sunday dinner, just like always. Except this time, I brought printed copies of the DNA test, the messages, everything. Mom answered the door. "Michael, where's Jennifer? Where's Ethan?" "That's what I'm here to talk about. Is Dad home?" They sat at their dining room table, the same table where we'd had Christmas dinner every year of my childhood, and I laid it all out. The DNA test, the affair, the messages, Robert's admission. Dad read the documents in silence. Mom kept saying, no, that can't be right." When I finished, there was a long, horrible silence. "How long have you known?" Dad finally asked. 2 weeks. "And you're sure about Robert?" I slid the messages across the table, watched my father's face as he read his oldest son's words, watched the betrayal hit him like it had hit me. Mom was crying. "What about Ethan? That poor baby." "Ethan is Robert's son, Mom. Not mine. Robert's. But you've raised him under false pretenses. They lied to me, both of them, for 18 months. Dad looked up at me. "What are you going to do?" "I'm going to court. I'm challenging paternity, filing for divorce. And I need you both to know this is going to get ugly. The whole community will know. Robert's business will suffer. There will be sides. I need to know where you stand." Mom looked stricken. "Michael, he's your brother." "He stopped being my brother when he slept with my wife while I was in a war zone and let me raise his son." The words came out harder than I intended. Mom flinched. Dad reached over and put his hand on mine. "We stand with you, son. What Robert did..." He shook his head. "I didn't raise him to be this person." "What about Sunday dinners, holidays, family events?" Dad looked at Mom, then back at me. "We'll figure it out, but you come first. You're the one who was wronged." I left my parents' house feeling like I'd just detonated a bomb in my own family, because I had, but I wasn't done yet. Karen delivered. She got into Robert's laptop. They shared an Apple ID, apparently, and forwarded me everything. Text messages going back 2 years, Google searches, Can father challenge paternity in Texas? Dated 6 months after Ethan's birth. Financial records showing Robert had sent Jennifer money during my deployment. Most damning, a voice memo Robert had sent to a friend, recorded drunk one night. Dude, I'm such a piece of shit. My brother's raising my kid and has no idea. Every time I see them together, I feel like I should say something, but what am I going to say? Hey, Mike, remember when you were in Afghanistan? Yeah, I was fucking your wife. I'm going to hell. I saved it all, added it to the evidence file Diana was building. Then I did something I'm not proud of. I called Robert and asked to meet for a beer. Brotherly reconciliation, I said. He sounded relieved. We met at a sports bar near his office. I wore a wire. Texas is a one-party consent state. I could record our conversation legally. Mike, he said when he sat down, I'm glad you called. We need to talk about this. I just want to understand, I said, kept my voice calm. Hurt, but not angry. Why? Why did you do it? He exhaled. I don't know. Jennifer, she was there, and she was beautiful, and I was weak. It wasn't supposed to mean anything. But it did. She got pregnant. Yeah. And you knew. From the beginning, you knew Ethan was yours. Silence. Robert, I need you to say it, for me, so I can understand. Yes, I knew from the beginning. Jennifer told me the day she found out. And you let me raise him anyway. I didn't know what else to do. You were so happy, Mike. You came home from deployment and you were so in love with him. I couldn't tell you. You could have. At any point. Before I signed the birth certificate. Before I bonded with him. Before I fell in love with him. But you didn't. I'm sorry. Are you? Because from where I'm sitting, you were perfectly happy to let me raise your son for 18 years. You only said anything because I forced you to. He looked at his beer, didn't answer. Look at me, Robert. He looked up. You destroyed my family. You destroyed our brotherhood. And for what? Because you wanted something I had? Because you've always been competitive with me and this was just another thing to take? It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? Explain it to me. He couldn't. He just sat there, and I recorded every second of his silence. I left that bar with everything I needed. Diana filed the paternity challenge and divorce petition on a Thursday. Jennifer was served at her mother's house the next day. She called me immediately, screaming, "How could you do this? How could you try to abandon your own son?" He's not my son. The DNA says so. The timeline says so. Your own words say so. You're going to traumatize him. He loves you. And I love him. But he's Robert's son, Jennifer, not mine. You made sure of that. The court will never side with you. I'll fight this. Go ahead. I have 17 pages of text messages proving you committed fraud. I have Robert on recording admitting he knew from day one. I have Karen's testimony. Fight me. See what happens. She hung up. Robert called an hour later. Mike, please, don't do this. Think about Ethan. I have thought about Ethan every single day for 18 months. While you were playing uncle, I was being his father. Midnight feedings, diaper changes, teaching him to walk. First steps, first words. And you watched. You watched me fall in love with him, knowing you were going to tear that away from me eventually. I was trying to protect him. You were trying to protect yourself, and now you're going to face the consequences. I hung up. That night, I sat in my apartment. I'd moved out of the family house and looked at my phone. 47 missed calls from Robert, 23 from Jennifer, 12 from family members who'd heard the news. I turned off my phone and sat in the dark, holding the dog tags I'd worn in Afghanistan. The same dog tags I'd been wearing the day Ethan was born, the day I'd signed his birth certificate, the day I'd promised to protect him forever. Some promises get broken by the people who force you to make them. The court hearing was scheduled for 6 weeks out. In the meantime, word spread through the military community like wildfire. Marcus called me. Dude, everyone's talking about it. Jennifer's been dropped from every spouse group. Wives are cutting her dead at the commissary. Good. Robert's business is tanking too. 3 clients pulled out this week. Word is he's getting blacklisted. I should have felt satisfaction. Instead, I just felt tired. The day before the hearing, Karen filed for divorce, took the kids, and moved to her parents' place in Austin. She'd meant what she said. She'd protect her family. And her family didn't include Robert anymore. My parents called that night. We sold the house, Dad said. Your mother we can't stay there. Too many memories. Where will you go? We found a condo downtown, smaller, easier. He paused. Robert keeps calling. Wants to come to dinner. Your mother won't see him. I'm sorry, Dad. Don't be. He did this, not you. But it didn't feel that way. It felt like I'd taken a sledgehammer to my entire family, and nothing would ever be whole again. The courthouse in San Antonio was downtown, an imposing stone building that smelled like floor wax and stress. I wore my dress uniform. Diana said it would help, reminded the judge I was active duty military, that I'd been deployed when Ethan was conceived. Jennifer wore a conservative dress and held a box of tissues. Her lawyer was an older woman who looked like she'd seen every custody battle twice. Robert wasn't there. Couldn't be compelled to attend since he wasn't legally involved yet, but his absence was its own presence. The hearing took 3 hours. Jennifer's lawyer argued that Ethan had bonded with me, that disrupting our relationship would traumatize him, that blood doesn't make a father. Diana presented the evidence, the timeline, the text messages, Karen's affidavit, the recording of Robert's admission, the voice memo where Robert confessed to a friend. The judge, a woman in her 50s with gray hair and tired eyes, read through everything. Then she asked Jennifer to approach the bench. Mrs. Harrison, she said, did you know when you signed the birth certificate that Michael Harrison was not the biological father? Jennifer's lawyer tried to coach her, told her she didn't have to answer, but the judge wasn't having it. Mrs. Harrison, I've just read text messages dated November and December where you explicitly told Robert Harrison that the child was his and that you planned to tell your husband it was his. That doesn't sound uncertain to me. Jennifer started crying. I didn't know what else to do. I loved Robert, but he wouldn't leave his wife, and Michael was deployed, and I was alone. That's not a legal defense, Mrs. Harrison. That's an admission of fraud. The judge called a recess. Diana squeezed my shoulder. That's good for us. When we reconvened, the judge looked at me directly. Captain Harrison, do you understand that if I grant this petition, you will have no legal relationship with the child, no custody, no visitation rights? Yes, Your Honor. And that's what you want? I thought about Ethan, his laugh, the way he'd reach for me at bedtime, teaching him to stack blocks, reading him stories. 18 months of being someone's entire world. No, Your Honor, I said quietly. That's not what I want, but it's what's necessary. I was deceived into signing that birth certificate. I was told repeatedly that the child was mine. If I'd known the truth, I never would have signed. And I can't be held financially and legally responsible for 18 years based on fraud. The judge nodded slowly. The court agrees. I heard Jennifer gasp behind me. This court finds clear and convincing evidence of fraud in the execution of the birth certificate. Michael Harrison signed under the false belief that he was the biological father, a belief deliberately maintained by both Mrs. Harrison and Robert Harrison. While the court is sensitive to the child's attachment to Captain Harrison, the law cannot compel a man to support a child conceived through deliberate deception. She banged her gavel. Paternity is disestablished. Michael Harrison is not the legal father. Child support obligations, 0. Custody reverts solely to Mrs. Harrison. Robert Harrison is ordered to submit to paternity testing within 30 days. Jennifer was sobbing. Somewhere behind me, I heard my mother crying too. I just sat there, numb. Diana shook my hand. You won. Had I? Robert's paternity was established 2 weeks later. The court ordered him to pay $1,944 per month in child support, exactly what I would have paid for 18 years, $420,000 total. Karen's divorce finalized a month after that. She got full custody of their daughters, the house, and substantial spousal support. Robert was now paying for 3 children and an ex-wife. His real estate business collapsed. Clients didn't want to work with a man who'd betray his brother. His partners bought him out at a fraction of what his stake was worth. Last I heard, he was working at a big box store, living in a studio apartment, seeing his daughters every other weekend if they'd agree to come. Jennifer moved to Houston, took a nursing job there. Ethan, I had to stop calling him my son, was with her. I heard through Marcus that she was alone. No dating prospects, no friends. The military spouse community has a long memory. My parents downsized, sold the family home. They still see Robert sometimes, but it's not the same. My mom can barely look at him. My dad won't talk about it. As for me, I got an apartment in Alamo Ranch. Went to therapy, worked on forgiving myself for not seeing it sooner, for trusting too much, for falling in love with a child who was never mine. Some days were better than others. 6 months after the divorce finalized, I ran into Jennifer at the H-E-B on Bandera Road. Pure accident. I was buying groceries, turned a corner, and there she was in the produce section with Ethan. He was bigger now, 2.5, walking confidently, chattering away in that toddler nonsense language. I froze, considered leaving. But then Ethan saw me. Mike, he ran over, used my first name now. Jennifer must have transitioned him away from Dada. I crouched down. Hey, buddy. Wook! He showed me a toy truck, small, plastic, red. Twuck! That's a cool truck. He beamed. Jennifer approached, uncomfortable. Michael, I didn't know you'd be... It's a grocery store. I live nearby. Silence. Ethan was oblivious, making truck noises. He talks about you sometimes, Jennifer said quietly. I tell him you were a good friend. A friend. Right. Jennifer, Michael, for what it's worth, I am sorry. I know that doesn't change anything, but... You're right. It doesn't. More silence. Ethan tugged on my pant leg. Mike, play. Not today, buddy. I have to go. Aww. His little face fell. I stood up, looked at Jennifer. Take care of him. He deserves better than what you and Robert gave him. I walked away. At the end of the aisle, I looked back. Ethan was waving. Bye-bye, I waved back. Then I turned the corner and didn't look back again. That night, I sat in my apartment and pulled out a box I'd been avoiding. Inside, the hospital bracelet from the day Ethan was born, the card from his first birthday, a photo of him taking his first steps while I held his hands. I looked at these things for a long time, memories of a life that wasn't mine, a relationship that was built on lies. I kept the photo, threw away the rest. Then I put on my dress uniform and looked at myself in the mirror. Older, sadder, but still standing. I'd survived 3 tours in combat zones. I'd survived this too. If you're listening to this and you've ever been betrayed by someone you trusted, you know there's no playbook, no right answer. Some people would say I should have forgiven them, kept Ethan in my life despite everything. Some people said I went too far, that I destroyed my family over pride. But here's what I learned. You don't owe anyone your destruction, not even family, especially not family who'd use your love against you. Robert and Jennifer made their choices. They gambled that I'd be too good, too loyal, too honorable to fight back. And for 18 months, they were right. But loyalty isn't stupidity. Honor isn't being a doormat. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is cut out the people who'd let you bleed just to avoid their own discomfort. I survived 3 tours in combat zones. I'll survive this too. And if there's one thing the Army taught me, it's this. You adapt. You overcome. You complete the mission. My mission now? Building a life where the people around me have earned their place in it. No more free passes, no more blind trust. As for Ethan, I hope he grows up happy. I hope Jennifer and Robert become better people for his sake. But that's not my responsibility anymore. I honored my duty to him for 18 months. Now it's their turn. Some days are harder than others. Some days I still hear a toddler's laugh and my chest tightens. But I'm here. I'm standing. And I'm free. That has to be enough. 1 year later, things had settled into a new normal. I got promoted to major, took on a training command role at Fort Sam Houston. Marcus introduced me to Sarah, former Army herself, medically retired after an IED in Iraq. We took things slow. Coffee first, then dinner, no rush. Just 2 people who understood what it meant to have your trust shattered and rebuild it piece by piece. My parents adjusted. They see Robert occasionally. Stiff holiday visits where everyone pretends things are normal. But Sunday dinners are with me now. Just me. And that's okay. Robert lost his real estate license. Turns out he'd been cutting ethical corners for years. And once his reputation tanked, clients started looking closer. Found financial irregularities. Nothing criminal, but enough to get him barred from the industry. Last I heard, he's managing a cell phone store, rarely sees his daughters. They're old enough now to choose, and they choose their mother. Jennifer's still in Houston, still alone. I heard she tried dating, but word got around. Turns out the military spouse network extends to civilian communities too. Some reputations don't recover. And Ethan? He's 3.5 now. Doesn't remember me, according to Marcus's wife, who ran into Jennifer at a Target. He calls Robert Daddy on the weekends Robert gets him. Jennifer never mentions me, apparently. Told him I was a friend who moved away. Maybe that's for the best. He doesn't need to know that for the first 18 months of his life. He had a father who would have died for him. Who did die for him in a way. Died the day he read a DNA test and realized everything was a lie. I still have the photo. The one of Ethan's first steps, my hands holding his face lit up with joy. It's in a drawer now. I don't look at it often, but I keep it, because that little boy existed even if he wasn't mine, and for 18 months he taught me what it meant to love something more than yourself. That love didn't become fake just because the relationship did. I'm okay now. Not healed. I don't think you fully heal from something like this. But okay. I have work that matters. Friends who showed up when it counted. Parents who chose right over easy. And maybe, if I'm lucky, a future with someone who understands that trust is earned through actions, not promises. The Army taught me to face impossible situations with discipline and strategy. This situation was no different. I assessed the threat. I gathered intelligence, I executed the mission, and I survived. Some people say I should have forgiven them. That family is everything. That blood is thicker than water. But you know what? The full saying is the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. It means the bonds you choose are stronger than the ones you're born into. I chose to protect myself. I chose my own dignity over family unity. I chose freedom over 18 years of paying for someone else's betrayal. Maybe that makes me the bad guy in someone's story. I can live with that. Because at the end of the day, I can look at myself in the mirror and know I did everything right. I was faithful. I was loyal. I was a good husband, a good soldier, a good father. I kept my promises. They didn't keep theirs. And when I found out, I didn't roll over and take it. I fought back with every tool I had. I won. And if that makes me cold or unforgiving or vindictive, so be it. I'm still standing. They're not. And honestly, that's all the closure I need.